My pride was that I could do this in my own strength. Look at all this that I'm doing, and I'm doing it in my own strength. Of course, I'm praying to God and I'm talking to God, but at the end of the day, am I really turning to the Lord? No. Sometimes I was turning to alcohol. That was the biggest thing that caused me to want to say, I don't want to drink anymore. I need God. I am a broken man. And in my song, Ordinary Man, it's I'm just an ordinary man, scars on my heart and dirt on my hands. The scars on my heart were the things that were done to me, and the dirt on my hands is the stuff that I did, that was wrong. I'm just ordinary. I'm like anybody else. But with the grace of God in my life and His presence and His Spirit, I'm capable of all kinds of wild things. But He gets the glory, not me.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Journey to Solutions podcast, where we interview people from all walks of life who've overcome the impossible. We shine light on one simple truth: no matter your past, no matter your pain, with the power of God, anything is possible. And today we're going to have a very special episode. We're going to be interviewing a singer-songwriter. He has a bunch of songs that you may have heard of. He actually has a new single coming out called Ordinary Man, which we're going to be talking about because you definitely got to check it out. And he's going to be able to share how it ties into his story of just recovery, of discovery, and of what it's like to be a broken person and to be able to heal through it. Because I truly believe if you can't be vulnerable about it, then you're never going to be able to heal from it. Because what you don't reveal, you won't heal. This guy's a man of God. He is a father of 6, 5 of them adopted. He is a husband. He is just a man for the community and loves just helping people. And I just want to introduce Michael Ketterer.
Thanks for having me here, Fausto. It's always a pleasure, always incredible to be here. And I just love getting around you because I feel like I can open up and really share with you. And we actually have our own history too, because back when
2020,
when things were really in a rough place, and I was in a really rough place. I like to say, like, I don't even know how it happened, but God put us together, and you're a big part of my story and about me walking through that really difficult season of life that I was in.
Yeah, I remember the first time we met our buddy Charlie.
Oh yeah,
right?
Charlie Grooms.
Charlie Grooms,
That's
right? Who tends to show up late. I remember he goes, "Hey, I got a friend who wants to meet you. He saw your YouTube video," and I was like, "Okay, cool." And it was Irvine Spectrum, but it was during COVID.
Yes.
So everyone was still wearing masks, like things were still kind of weird. And I remember I get there, and of course Charlie's not there yet.
Oh yeah.
And I get to the restaurant, and I'm just thinking like, I don't even know who this guy is, and everyone's wearing a mask. And I'm just like looking around. I just see some tall white person, I think is white right at the time, with the mask on. And he's like, "Hey, it's me." I'm like, okay. And you're like, "You don't know who I am?" I'm like, no. And that's when you're like, have you seen America's Got Talent? I'm like, well, yeah. And you shared about it. And I was like, oh, yeah, my mom talks about you.
Yes, exactly. I'm always everybody's mom's favorite.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Some people probably have seen you on America's Got Talent. People probably heard the stories that happened with after it. Kind of run me through the journey on, like, how did you get on America's Got Talent?
Okay, so what's really interesting is this song, Ordinary Man, that I'm putting out right now. That's actually how I got on the show, America's Got Talent. So I had the chorus to Ordinary Man written at the time, and I had sat down at my piano and just turned on my phone, the camera on my phone, and played it. And then I uploaded that to my social media. And then one of the producers from the show actually saw that clip of me singing the chorus to Ordinary Man. And then she reached out to me. I guess she started doing a little digging, found out that I had adopted these kids. And then she actually asked me to come and audition for the show. So then I actually went up with her and did the actual audition. And then I was invited because I was in this like weird factory or something out in the middle of LA and in this warehouse. And that's where I did this wild audition in front of like 3 or 4 people on this panel. very far in the distance, and I left that place not knowing how I did. And then afterwards she called back and said, hey, they actually want you to come and audition for the actual performance for the show. And so then that's when I went back and I did the full on audition, and that was where I ended up getting the golden buzzer.
So like, how was that for you? Did you expect anything was going to come out of it? Like just putting that song out on social media? Did you think it was really America's Got Talent that hit you up? Like, how was that?
No, it was kind of crazy, because when I got off the phone with the actual producer, when I got off the phone with the producer, I was kind of in this wild place of like, wait, what's going on? Is this real? Is it not real?
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing a little more digging, and she gave me some numbers and stuff, and I realized, oh, this is legit. And so at that point, I remember going to my wife, and we prayed and just asked if this was what God wanted us to do. And we both felt like God was leading us in this direction. So I just said, yes, sure, I'll go do it. It was pretty crazy. I mean, that was all kind of a blur thinking back now, because at the same time, simultaneously, I was working at the Children's Hospital in Orange County,
Mm-hmm.
and I was pioneering a mental health facility there in the hospital. It had never been done. I mean, I think that it had been like 20 years since a mental health facility had ever been opened in California.
Wow.
And this was a pediatric one.
Yeah.
So there was so much red tape, so many things to have to work through. So I'm doing that in my, as my day job.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm leaving there and going to these auditions and all this kind of stuff in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And at that point, were you really focused on your music, or were you kind of like, was music kind of just like a hobby at that point? You're more focused at work?
So I've always had a desire for music, and it's always been a huge part of my life. My dad was a music minister growing up in the Baptist church, and he taught me how to sing, stand up on the stage and perform. My brother and my sister, we would do harmonies and all this kind of crazy stuff back in Tennessee, where I'm
Mm-hmm.
from. And we did a lot of singing, a lot of music growing up. But I had actually done some music with a group called United Pursuit, and it had gained a lot of notoriety. Some of the music that we had done in the gospel worship realm of music, but I hadn't done anything to this degree before ever by any means. And it wasn't at that time, it was the last thing on my radar. I was focused on, first of all, what you mentioned, I have adopted 5 kids out of foster care. And those kids came with a lot of issues and a lot of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you talk about trauma on here a lot, but those kids came with a lot of trauma. And so there was a lot that we were managing at home with those kids at the time. And I was working in the hospital and opening up this mental health facility. It was the last thing on my radar to add another, egg to the basket, of all the things that I was juggling.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. I think people don't understand. It's like when you have children that have experienced trauma, it's like one child's like 5 kids, let's just say, right?
Yeah, it's true. Like they said that. Yeah, they told us that in our therapy.
Yeah.
Like one kid is like the essentially like 2 or 3 kids, because there's so many things you're on top of all the time.
On top of now, you're opening up a mental health clinic for severe cases of children going through, right? Which is a lot, like you said. So there's a lot of moving parts for you, being a husband, just so much thing going on yourself. And so when you go do the one where you get the golden buzzer, like run me through that day. Were you anxious? Were you having anxiety? Were you nervous? Like how was that for you?
So absolutely, I was all of the above. So we end up, when it was in Pasadena, and so we go up to Pasadena, and it's a room full. It looks just like the TV show, right? There's all this stuff going on, and there's all these people waiting to audition in front of Simon Cowell and the crew, and I just noticed something different. Like, we weren't waiting like everybody else was. They were kind of like sitting off in the corner. Everybody's like anxious, and they were pulling me and my family constantly in front of a camera. They're like, oh, let's get a family shot. Oh, come over here, Michael. Do this, say this, stand in front of this poster, put your glasses this way. You'll see some crazy stuff with my glasses. I don't know why they had me like doing weird stuff with my glasses. I don't know, but they had me doing some crazy stuff. And And they had me doing all these wild things all day long. And I brought my father-in-law with me, and he was like, Michael, he's like, they're not treating you like they're treating the rest of these people. So it's kind of already, I don't know the right word to say, because I still hadn't clicked that, oh, I would be getting a golden buzzer by any means.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I was like, they're treating me different. And I didn't understand why. And to make matters worse, so I'm anxious, right? And we got there at like 8 o'clock that morning. And remember, I have 6 kids.
Trying to get there.
5 wild boys. And they're all in this space, this wild space. And we were there from 8 till I think about 6 or 8 o'clock, 6 to 8 p.m. I can't remember. I was the very last person to audition.
Oh, damn, you went the whole entire time.
So we waited around the entire time. And so I just remember being in the back room and hearing the X, like the
Yeah.
However loud that may seem from watching it on TV, it's 10,000 times louder in person. So when they were hitting that, it was rumbling the floors where we were at. And I just remember thinking, because they had given us like this pep talk, if they hit the X, just don't quit. Just keep singing, sing through it. And I was thinking in my mind, how am I going to do that? You know, and I was trying to talk myself through a whole bunch of stuff and prepare for whatever could happen. And I don't think the magnitude actually hit me at the moment that I was actually going to be singing in front of basically the world, you know? Because if people don't actually tune into the show for America's Got Talent, a lot of people get online and start watching the YouTube clips and things like that. And I just nothing registered that this could be life-altering for me. It was exciting, and I thought like, oh, okay, cool, maybe this could open up doors. If I do good, it could potentially open up doors for me. It could, you know, with music, which is something that I've always loved and wanted to pursue. But again, it wasn't like I was out to try to pursue it wholeheartedly in that season of life. I had so many other things going on.
Man, I can't imagine that, just like 10 hours of just waiting.
That's what it was, dude.
You know, maybe you get hungry, you get thirsty, you start overthinking, you have so much time, and you're just looking around, getting tired, and just all that stuff.
It's 1,000. It was like overthinking, stop overthinking. You know how you do. Self-talk your way through all those scenarios, but like, and then the kids running around, grabbing things, grabbing feathers off of people's costumes. And it was just, oh my God, 10 long hours.
So then now run me through that. So now you're, all right, Michael, you're up.
Yeah.
What did you pray before? Were you praying while you're walking up on stage? Like, I know you closed your eyes at one point. Like, what are you doing in that moment?
Absolutely. And I was praying all day long, like from the moment I got there. But when I walked out on that stage, and when you watch the clip, you can actually see me. Like, I close my eyes and I'm praying under my breath. And I'm just like, God, you know, use me, you know, help me to give my best. I just wanted to give my best, and I want to honor you and my family. You know, that was my heart in that moment. I want to honor you, God, and my family. And walked out on that stage, delivered the performance that I had practiced 100,000 times. And then that's when I got shocked out of my mind, because I looked so visibly anxious before I started singing that after I got done, Simon was like, Michael, I just was really worried about you. He says, I mean, he says it.
Yeah.
He says it. Honestly, you're a surprise, because I was so worried about you, how nervous you are. And then he goes, but sometimes actions speak louder than words. And then he hits the golden buzzer. And that was a transforming moment of my life. Like, absolutely shifted the way in the direction that everything was headed in my life. And I thought that golden buzzer moment was putting me on a train to success and worldly success and all these things that you think of when you think success. What I had no idea was that God was going to use that for his version of what success looks like. And I had no clue.
Yeah, because run me through that. So you get the golden buzzer, right? It's, again, big deal. Simon Cowell cries, big deal.
Sure.
the way they film it too is very emotional, right? With the,
Yeah.
they caught it really good with the step kids. I work at Chalk Hospital, pediatric. I mean, everything was just so like, wow, who is this man, right?
Yeah,
they created
yeah.
that image of like, this man is like the perfect man. Like, oh my God, I want him to be my dad. Like just
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So now that day you leave, what happens is your phone buzzing? Are you getting all these followers? Are people like, oh, it's Michael Ketterer? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, that is actually the wild part about those moments like that, is that I did not realize the new visibility that my life, I didn't realize the new visibility that my life was taking on. And yeah, they were painting me as like this like Messiah almost, like the second coming of Christ or something. Like I was this perfect human that was doing all this great good. Like just you put me, Michael Ketterer, Mother Teresa. That's what I felt like they were putting this image of me out there. And I know that I've done these are great things, but inside I was just thinking, oh my gosh, people are going to find out who I really am, and I am not this man that they're portraying. And everybody's eyes were just piercing in on us and me and my wife and my kids. And at first it was kind of this new exciting thing, right? That people wanted to have me on the news reports, and people wanted to take photos of me and my family and my kids and all that kind of stuff. But what I didn't realize was what that life in front of the spotlight really looks like behind the scenes. And after everything went down, Simon Cowell called me and my wife, and he was like, I'm really sorry for this, everything you're going through right now. He goes, this is the side of, I guess, stardom or whatever, of being a celebrity that we can't train you on or teach you about. There's not this path that's laid out that we could train you with. And he goes, and I'm so sorry that we couldn't protect you from this. And that was Simon Cowell's response, because he really is a great freaking human being.
How soon did he tell you that?
It was like the day after everything came out on the news and everything. Mm-hmm. And he still tried to help me out afterwards too. There was just so much negative press and everything that it was out of his control. But the wild thing is that what had happened was, following that, everyone's eyes started peering into like our personal life at a level and a degree that we were not prepared for. And it wasn't like we had anything to hide. It was just that people were in our front yard. People, when we go to the grocery store with the kids, people would run up and grab our children from Ivy while she was pushing them through like grocery stores, or she was out on the street. We slowly started becoming more and more isolated and reclused. Like we couldn't go out in public. And I'd always heard people say things like that as these big celebrities, but I didn't think I'm thinking, we're not that.
Yeah.
I'm a nurse.
Yeah.
I'm a freaking pediatric mental health nurse, right?
Yeah.
That's what I am. And I'm thinking, that's not me. I still got to drive to work in the morning, tomorrow morning. And dude, I had no idea how invasive that can become.
Because from the moment of the golden buzzer, so let's go from there to the finals, before everything happened. How long was it? How many weeks, months was in between that, from the golden buzzer to you went on the finals?
I should know exactly, because it was we were told that several times. I should know exactly. But the thing is because when I went out and sang, and Simon Cowell gave me his golden buzzer, then I went straight through to the finals. So I didn't have to do all the other auditions.
Right.
Hallelujah, or else there'd been no way I could have done it. Right. And but I should also go back and say that immediately getting back, no one knew anything. So that was when it was real exciting, because we were telling all our friends and everything. But once they aired the show, that's when everything started changing for us. Once they aired the recording, me getting that golden buzzer, that's when everything changed. Prior to that, we had to promise and swear to keep it a secret and not tell anybody, and sign all these contracts and that kind of stuff that we wouldn't share it. But once they aired it, man, life shifted like very dramatically.
Yeah, you hear it a lot, right, with like people that these overnight successes, right? And like there is such a thing, and not, obviously a person is who they are, but when they have like America's Got Talent, American Idol, even people on social media now, people that get famous on TikTok for just something random, right?
Mhm.
But hey, like you don't have security yet. It's not like you're a
Oh, I don't have
Yeah.
security yet.
There's no security. It's not like you're a billionaire and you have all
Yeah,
this
dude.
protection. It's just like you're a person that now you're famous,
Mm-hmm.
and now everybody thinks they know you.
Yeah.
Of course I know him. And then maybe you know this. Fans can be weird people,
Yes.
obsessive.
Yes.
I mean, think about it. This person knows everything about you, every single song, knows all your. I mean, just cool. But you got to think, wow, you
Mhm.
really like obsessed about me, huh? And it's like,
Yeah, and especially when we brought in the fact that we had kids, and so people became like wanting to know their stories and all that kind of stuff, and then it was like, oh man, now we have to adjust a protection around them.
Mm-hmm. How was it for them? Did you see them kind of getting like triggered by it? Anxious about it, the kids?
Well, at the time they were still going through a lot of stuff. We were still managing a lot with them, so that was another thing. Is like we're sitting here managing their behaviors and their issues from their trauma and from being adopted, and so we're still managing those kind of things, and we've just now added this whole massive thing onto the plate.
Mm-hmm.
And going back, like I've alluded to it already, but what you've seen is like I had my full-time job working in the hospital, being a father to these kids that were needing a lot because of their trauma and the abuse and stuff in their lives. The newfound fame of America's Got Talent, and of course doing my best to be a husband back at home, and all that started uncovering things because I didn't have the capacity. I was stopped really taking care of myself and all these things. So it started exposing this brokenness that I had inside of me. And it was exposing like my capacity, what I could and couldn't do, and also my attitude of like, you cannot be a failure. You need to be a perfectionist. You've got to show everybody that you can do this, or else you're not just a failure, but you're not a man. You know what I mean? Men step up to the plate. They take care of their family. They take care of their kids. They take care of their careers. They take care of all this stuff, right? And I'm starting to be like, I can't do this, and that's when I really started realizing that without knowing that, having words to say it, I just kept realizing in myself that, man, I'm a broken person and I don't know what to do. I honestly didn't know what the heck to do.
When did you notice that? And was it like at what point of the America's Got Talent series did you start to notice like, like I'm not doing good right now, but I gotta figure this out?
Yeah. So what started happening during that season is, and I remember even talking to one of the contestants, and we still talk to this day. But I remember talking to one of the contestants behind the scenes, and I was like, man, they are painting me in this way that if I do anything wrong, it's going to be like newsworthy. I said, one day I'll yell at my kids walking down the street, and I'm going to end up on TMZ. I literally said that.
Oh gosh.
I literally said that. I said, one day I'm going to yell at my kids walking down the street, and I'm going to end up on TMZ. And little did I know I was going to end up on TMZ, dude. Oh. It was crazy. But what happened is I started like to be able to get through, and in the beginning it worked, but I was turning more and more to alcohol. And I'd always been that person. Well, I'll be honest. I'll be straight up honest, is I didn't drink until I was probably like in my 30s because I was raised very religious, and in that kind of like religious upbringing, I learned to really rely on myself in a lot of ways, and going through a lot of the stuff that I went through as a child, I never got help for it. And especially back then, I'm 48, so
therapy's a taboo, right? Back in the day, it's like not really a thing. Mental
people
health.
didn't get therapy. Nobody did, and I don't blame my mom or my parents because it just wasn't something that you did. Let's go to take people to family therapy. But so much of the stuff that we faced and that I faced as a kid really was very traumatic. And you and me both know trauma is subjective. What may be traumatic for some person is not going to be for another.
Right.
And And so, me and my brothers and sisters, we would kind of all have different paths and stories to tell. But for me, being the oldest, I did go through a lot of traumatic events through my childhood, and never once had I taken the time to get those things corrected. So a lot was based on my behavior, and so I knew, like, you don't drink. We were told you don't drink. Nobody drinks. You should be a Christian. But then in my 30s, I started getting free.
Yeah.
And it might have been like more like my late 20s.
Yeah.
I started getting free, and I was like, you know what? They told me this is religion that says you can't drink,
Yeah.
and I kind of like cut loose a little bit for sure, and but I always felt like I had it under control. But during that season is when I really started turning to it, not just for fun or relaxation or whatever, but as a coping mechanism.
So at
It's a
that
coping skill.
So at that point, were you kind of like drinking all day for the most part? Would you say started getting like I'm drinking in the morning, during the day, at night? Like,
It wasn't necessarily like I was drinking all day, but it would be like, okay, well, something stressful is gonna happen. I better, obviously, like, one thing that I'm so thankful is I never ever drank and went to work or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that never is part of my story. But what I would do is, like, if there was something happening and I had to go to LA or whatever, I'd be like, you know what, I'm gonna just stop at the bar on the way in and have like a couple beers before I go in, just to relax and chill out, because I don't know. And it would mainly be, I would say what mainly started happening is towards the end of the day when I would get home, I was always ending every day with alcohol, every single day. And it wasn't just a thing that I was doing on the weekends anymore. It was like creeping into
the week.
and stuff like that.
So now you have all these things are coming up, right? Because what you don't heal will follow you whenever. And sometimes, I think in life they always say like, hey, be ready, because once you're really out there, people start digging and they start looking for things, or the pressure gets too high, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna react.
Explode.
You're gonna explode, and then you really do have all eyes on you. That's the difference. Some people get paranoid and think everybody's watching. No, but everybody is watching you, Michael. So now it's like, hey, like, it's kind of like the thing, like, I'm sorry, Michael, but you're in a lifestyle now that you don't have the ability to be like a normal person.
Yeah.
This is what comes with it. You got to be more alert. And then you're like, oh no, now the pressure's on. So now you're drinking more than you should.
Yeah.
You have all this pressure happening, right? Because even good things come with pressure.
Absolutely. Yes. Even good things come
That's
with
just the
pressure.
reality,
Yeah.
especially when you know things are coming up and there's so many different things you have to navigate. So now run me through the finals. So you're in the finals,
Yes.
and there's 5 people in the finals, right, that perform? Is it?
I guess the finals, I guess it was 10.
Okay, 10.
And then it goes down to the top 5,
Okay.
right? And so I actually came in 5th place.
Yeah.
And so after that, I just remember them calling my name. And that time it wasn't good to get your name called. Every time before, it was great to get your name called because that meant like you were winning. But at this time, I got my name called, which meant that I was not moving any further. And it was the 5th place. I was completely fine with that.
Yeah.
I was totally fine. I was like, this is great. Everything's been great. I just remember us leaving that place just like so excited. I had met with my family afterwards, but there was a dramatic shift where before they were pulling me along after every episode. They would grab me and pull me into a room, and they would have cameras on me, and they would ask me questions. That day, there was none of that. It was just like crickets. And I was like, oh, okay. So before, I was getting pulled along because I was still part of the program. I was still a part of it. But now that I was off, you were off.
Yeah.
It's like they don't even care if you come back or not.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was done. And so then I had to like basically find my way out and that kind of thing. And so, but I still didn't care. And we ended up going out to eat with family that night, and then we stayed in the hotel that night. And me and my wife had our own hotel room, and my my daughter, who's in her 20s, was with the kids in the other hotel rooms. We had 2 separate rooms.
And at this point, I remember too, you had a future performance coming up with Garth Brooks too, right?
That's
so you
right.
have something big you're looking forward to, even though you got 5th place. Okay.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had this big performance set where I was going to get to play live with Garth Brooks, and I was so excited about that because Garth Brooks has just been such a part of my life, you know, my childhood, my adolescence, everything growing up. And he had actually written a song that I performed on the program, and now I was going to get to go perform with him live, and I was so excited about it. I was so excited. But what happened and what transpired was that next day, my wife and I got in an argument, and it makes sense why we got in an argument, especially afterwards, and especially when you just saw about all that pressure, because because she was there, we were there, I think, total of almost 3 days for the final that we stayed in that hotel. Might have been 2 days. I think it was almost 3 days. And I was being pulled off in these like spaces, right? And all this stuff. Well, she and my daughter were having to manage these 5 wild boys in this hotel room. And so she tried to take them out on Hollywood Boulevard. When she did, people would come up and grab the kids. Or she would go out to the pool. People would come up and approach her. She couldn't go anywhere, and she was honestly really scared. It scared her to be alone and without me. So that next morning, I was sleeping in instead of getting up and leaving and all that kind of stuff like we should have just done. I was so tired and exhausted. And we ended up getting into a fight. And I remember slamming the door or whatever. And then the next thing I know, security, the police were at our door. With the police, like the police tried to shoo them off, but there were cameras behind them. And the police did actually get the cameras to go away. I remember. Because what we realized was in Hollywood, everything's on 24/7. And so that hotel that I was staying at, the Dolby Theater, was crawling with reporters. And they were looking for any opportunity to get something. And so thankfully the police were able to shoo off the reporters. And after that fight, you know, it was one of those crazy things where the DA later told us, and they call it in LA the O.J. Simpson effect. And that's if there's ever a domestic dispute that somebody needs to go, like somebody needs to be taken, right? So in our instance, my wife is like, no, you do not need to arrest him. Please don't arrest him. Don't take him. You know, everything's fine. We just got into a fight. It got out of control. We were slamming things around. But that wasn't what happened. I ended up getting arrested and taken away. And then the next is history, because there is one clip of me, and then it made news that I got arrested. But it was kind of crazy because I ended up having to go and stay overnight. Early, I got out like really early that morning. I think it was like 5 a.m.
Were you at the Twin Towers?
Yes, I ended up having to go to Twin Towers. Oh my gosh. I will tell this story because I ended up having to go to Twin Towers because on the way out, when they had arrested me and put me in cuffs and taken me out, my wife was like, he's going to need his medication. He's going to need his medication. And I take Lexapro. And at the time, it was like 10 milligrams of Lexapro. And they go, oh, he's on psych meds. He's going to have to be seen by a psychiatrist. So instead of taking me to just the Hollywood precinct, they had to take me to Twin Towers. So I got a good experience of what it's like up in LA in Twin Towers. That was for sure. I was just so thankful they got me out early the next morning, that I didn't have to go into like general public the next day or whatever. But yeah, I ended up spending the night there at Twin Towers, leaving very early the next morning.
What were you thinking when you're in there? Like, was there just any of like, okay, this is going to be on TMZ, they're going to know, or you kind of just like, all right, just got to get out of here and just move on?
Well, no, that was definitely a part of what I was thinking in my head, was like, oh my gosh, everybody's going to know. This is going to go public, and what is going to happen? Like, I had no grid for what it could have looked like. You know, zero grid for what that was going to look like if people were to find out like that I had been arrested. And so the next day, I get out and I drive. There was it was like a bondsman guy that ends up picking me up, and he drives me all the way back home. I get home right as the kids are getting ready for school, and everybody's just like having a good time. Ivy's made pancakes. There's literally pancake breakfast. Uh, the bondsman comes in and he's like, "Whoa, can I have pancakes?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure, sit down." And he's like, "There's so much peace in this home." And I was like, "Well, that's wild that you say that because we're going through all this craziness right now."
Yeah.
And but there was our home. We did our best to even though it was chaotic to cultivate peace as much as we could in our home and to help create an environment for our kids, and all that kind of stuff for healing and things like that. But um but we sat down. He leaves. Me and Ivy sit down and we talk, and I go, and I said, I remember this. I said, "Ivy," I said, "well, let's look on the bright side. Nobody knows, right? There's not a soul that knows. I haven't heard anything, so maybe, this is in the clear." And then I get a phone call, literally, almost immediately after that comes out of my mouth. I answer and they go, "Hello, it's so and so from TMZ. We'd like for you to give a statement." And I just remember going, "What? No, 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 no. Please don't report on this. Please." It's like I said, this is all a misunderstanding. I was like, everything's fine. And then that was it. And then it was on TMZ, and then it was on every major news network around the nation and the globe. It was just so crazy.
Yeah, and
Such a wild.
run me through that. Like, what was that like that day? Like, how did that feel emotionally? What came up for you? How did life change for you in that moment? You went from, right, you're the Messiah, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to pick up your kids and hug you, and I know you. I want you to be my dad, and you're
Sure.
America's #1 dad. And
Yeah.
TMZ goes out.
And now I'm a criminal. Well, what's crazy is the realization of the narrative that the media paints for people that we all fall in line with a lot of times, right? They had painted me, if the media wanted to and it benefited them, they painted me as this like America's sweetheart, incredible dad, messiah figure. But when it benefited them for me to be a criminal, they painted me in that light. You know what I mean? And I was neither. I was neither. I was neither. And I think that's the thing, that the realization that came from all of that. But in the moment, I'm flipping out. I'm freaking out. I'm totally anxious. I become super paranoid now. Talk about paranoid. I was so paranoid because, like you said, there is something about being paranoid when there's nobody looking. But there's another thing of being paranoid when people are actually looking.
Yeah.
And I was so afraid, like I was going to say something and it would be recorded on microphones, or I'd be at a restaurant. I mean, literally, I'd be sitting at a restaurant. Me and my wife would go like, "Let's just get away and get out of the house." And we'd sit at a restaurant and people would come up to our table and be like, "Oh, aren't you Michael from America's Got Talent?" And I was like, "Oh man." Yeah, it was such a wild, wild time. But there were certain people in my life that really carried us through that season. And I'm still forever grateful to those people that came to our side and to our aid and covered us and said, "Hey, we're not going to believe anything negative about Michael unless he's proven guilty. If he's proven innocent, then we're going to believe that." In which everything was. The DA threw everything out the next day. They threw it all out because there was no validity to it. Um, but still had to go through all those repercussions. I lost the opportunity with Garth Brooks, which was a very rough day. One of my friends, he had basically OD'd that day, and I had to go to his funeral. And while I was up on the stage, I mean, I honestly didn't feel like being there to do the funeral, right? Because this is all just happened. It was all fresh. But his family asked me to, and I said, "You know what? I'll do it. I'll do it for you guys if this is really what you want." And they said, "We really want you to, Michael. We want you to be there." And so I got up and I sang and performed. But right before I walked out on the stage to sing at his funeral, I got a phone call, and it was Garth Brooks. And he's like, "I'm so sorry, Michael." He said, "I've been drugged through the mud. I've been through it." And he's not lying. Garth Brooks has. He goes, "I know what you're going through." He goes, and there's literally nothing that I can do, but I hope you understand why I can't have you perform live with me at this performance. And, again, it was such a honorable thing that these men, like Simon Cowell and Garth Brooks, called me personally. They could have had their assistants call me. They personally called me and walked with me, that walked me through that. Like, hey, this is what you're going through is stuff that a lot of people go through, but unfortunately you're in a different space. And that's what I wasn't ready for. It wasn't that I couldn't handle things that were difficult, because my gosh, we'd handle lots of difficult things. But it was being in that space.
Yeah.
Being in that space overnight, out of nowhere. We all love our overnight success stories. But that going from like nothing to being in that space is such a different animal. And honestly, it requires a level of integrity to be able to walk in that. And it was a level of integrity that I had not cultivated in my life. Matter of fact, I haven't dealt with the trauma and the abuse of my childhood. I had never dealt with the issues that I was dealing with within me. My wife hadn't dealt with her stuff. We were just doing the work. And I think something, especially in the body of Christ, is like in the church, is if you do the work and you serve Jesus and you serve the Lord, then that will fix your problems. But that's not always true. And matter of fact is a lot of times we can hide the true issues and bury the true issues under appearing to do the work.
Yeah. That's what they call it, like spiritual bypass, when, you get a little like us, like we're spiritual beings, but we live in reality. It's like getting in shape. You don't just pray to Jesus and serve others and you get a six pack. It's like, no, you got to go to the gym.
That would be nice. Yeah. That would be nice, man.
You got to go to the gym and work out and eat right.
Diet.
Yeah, diet.
Oh, that's the hard part.
And so, and again, your situation is very unique, right? I think more people are experiencing that now with social media, where you have these people like, because again, someone could get famous for saying a funny joke and it gets a million, and then someone wants to interview them for that one joke and then become that person about that one joke, and then it's like, not everyone knows you, but you're just somebody who said something funny and it went viral. Like, it's not like you're rich, you don't have security, you don't have the character to handle all that pressure.
Yep.
You do have stalkers now. You do have people watching you. Like now you
do have zero examples in your life.
Yeah.
Because it's not like all of a sudden you can turn to somebody and ask, oh, what did you do?
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know, but what's the percentage of people who actually live like that?
Yeah. I mean, think about America's Got Talent, people that win or in that thing, right? Yeah, there's people, but the percentage compared to how many people in the world, very slim. You don't just run into people every day. You've been on America's Got Talent, you got talk. Oh yeah, so let's talk. So it's cool that you had people like Simon Cowell and Garth Brooks who have an understanding, and they can look at it logically more like, okay, so yeah, this is part of the world you're in now. Unfortunately, this is how it happens. Can't prepare you for it. This is what it is. But they know how to look at it very with love instead of judgment, because they know how, like you said, they could paint a story about whoever. Yeah. You see it all the time, and it's crazy because we will believe things that people put out there because we don't know the person personally. Exactly. So we just believe what we see. Yeah. But not knowing when you do know the person, it's like, actually, that's not true. What do you mean? It was this. They just did that because it sells more. Wow. And everybody believes it to be true. Yep. So like for you now that you have this downfall happening very fast, right? You have very fast spotlight, and now you're very fast in the darkness. What, like, how'd you navigate that? People can barely handle a situation like that from day to day. Just day-to-day stuff, like, oh man, this happened. But you have where like the world knows about your mess up. Like, how did you navigate that?
Yeah, it was extremely, extremely difficult. And I'm so thankful for the people that God had in our lives. And one of the people that's gonna blow your mind, who was there for us during this season, was Brian Head Welch.
From Korn, right?
From Korn, the guitar player. Head from Korn. Yeah. But he's obviously gone through so much, and we were good friends with him before because we were there for him in seasons past, and him and his daughter and his family. But during this time, he really kicked it in gear. Like, he was there the day that we got our boys when we adopted them. Like, he was literally there and helped with them and bring them into the house and in the home. But during this season, he really stepped it up, and he was talking with experience, because he was the one person in my life that knew what that was like, that life
Mm-hmm.
of being like a celebrity. I did not have anyone else to talk to necessarily about that. Um, but there were also the pastors at my church that I currently go to. I go to Influence Church in Anaheim Hills. Pastor Phil and Tammy Hotzenpiller. Um, the elders, George and Lisa Haynes. They stepped in, and because they saw after that, with the weight of all that, like the weight of all that. And I mean, I know you guys can't understand what the weight of that truly was, but the weight of all that was bone crushing. And I know you do, because you were there with me during all of it.
Yeah, I remember.
You for sure. You being there for me 100%.
Yeah.
And so you know what I was facing. You saw the dark sides of me, and then and you saw it in comparison to the parts of me, and you saw me wrestling with all this. But again, it started to expose these things. But these people in our lives said, we're not going to let you spiral out of control. We're not going to let you fall. My job, my boss at my job, she stepped up and just really took care of me during that season as well. I couldn't ask for more. And like looking back now, I just see how the hand of God was on my life, and how he was protecting not just me, but my whole family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if me and Ivy collapsed, then that means our children and their life, which is already so fragile anyway, would have collapsed and crumbled. But especially at my church Influence, they put me in touch with a therapist here in Orange County named Virginia Dixon. She's actually a doctor, and she does this wild stuff like called brain mapping and all these wild things, right? And I was extremely skeptical of her at first, because I'm thinking, what? I come from medicine. I'm a nurse. I understand what medicine is. But I willingly opened up to it, because my wife did first, which I'm so shocked that Ivy was willing to go do that. If you know her, so it's like, it's really shocking that she would be willing to go do some of these things. But she opened up to her first, and I saw the change in her. I started seeing a change in her, and I was like, well, if this is working for her, then maybe it'll work for me too. And dude, that going through therapy with Dr. Virginia Dixon was absolutely life-changing, because it was all-encompassing. We were dealing with the physical problems, which were the effects of trauma on our brain. There was a lot of damage from the emotional aspects of trauma, but I had also had concussions as a kid that had caused problems. And so we were going in there and we were correcting those kind of things, physical. But then she also was with us and working through through our emotional issues. So having me and Ivy talk with each other, with her in the center, and really duke it out and hash it out, and really talk about what she was bothering her and what was bothering me, and then how we're going to get through this, because there was just so much going on. Because if you can imagine, the weight of that really causes a relationship to begin to crumble beneath it as well. So it really affected mine and Ivy's relationship, and I think. She will tell you that she did not like me. Did not like me. And we had to work through that. We had to work through all of that. And she helped us with that. So it was the physical, it was the emotional, but then she was not afraid to confront the spiritual part too, because she believes in God. And so the spiritual component too. And so all three of those really helped us get through that very extremely difficult season and begin to get healing. What I started to learn is that for most of my life, I'd done this like behavior modification thing, where I was trying to modify my behavior to look like a good Christian, to look like I had it together, to appear that I had it together, to appear that I was doing everything right. And even though I would know deep down that I didn't, I think that's the really hard part, is like I would work so hard and do all the stuff, like praying and fasting and all the things that you're supposed to do to get things right. My intention was I wanted to get things right. I just was going about it all wrong. And I think that's where the grace of God came in, you know? Absolutely. I believe in the miraculous healing of God, and I've seen miracles take place. I've seen them happen in my own home and with my own children and my family. And I know that he can work like that. But I think there's certain things that he wants and desires us to go through that process. Because that way it becomes solidified in us, our brokenness, right? The rumors were really bad about me and Ivy because we knew they weren't true, but we're hearing them all over the place. The rumors are bad. The allegations were horrible. The things that they were saying about us and they're saying about me specifically.
Yeah, how do you navigate that? You know, because it's kind of like someone's sending you a bad comment, let's say on social media, right?
Yeah.
And some people will say, don't read the comments.
Yeah.
Don't respond to the comments. You know, some people say, no, you need to defend yourself. Sometimes defending yourself makes you look worse. Like,
Yeah.
what was the advice that you were given as you're hearing all these rumors and allegations, how to like walk through it the right way?
That's a great question because a lot of people have never had to do anything like that. And so because I hadn't, I thought like, oh, we just get out and tell everybody that it's all wrong.
Yeah.
That it's all a lie.
Yeah.
Well, our actual lawyers and therapists and everything were like, that's not what you do. If you get out and speak, then they're just going to twist your words and they're going to paint it and make you look even worse. So the best thing to do is to be silent in this time and focus in on yourself. Focus in on your family, focus in on getting yourself healed and cared for. And then it will pass. And at first, that was the hardest thing for me to do because I wanted to tell everybody. I wanted to get on social media. I knew all I had to do was make a post and I could get my side of the story out. But my lawyers were saying, don't you dare do anything like that. Because what you'll do is because usually they say this, it's probably less than this now, but it's got like 11 or 12 week, maybe 11 to 12 day rotation that the media goes on. I could be wrong on those numbers, but there's like this media rotation. And then after that, people stop talking about it. Even if it was something really newsworthy.
Yeah.
People stop talking about it after that, like 11 to 12. But if I interrupt that.
You reset it?
Then I reset it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've heard that. I mean, yeah, it's true. I mean, think about like P. Diddy's case. So big, but when you think about it, no one talks about it now, but it's a big deal and it was talked about, but then now there's other things that we're focusing on this or focusing on that, but every time Diddy wants to speak up, it kind of resets the story. So you're right. When you come back
brings
up,
it back into everybody's forefront.
Yeah.
And what I've realized is what was world altering for me. A lot of people didn't even know, you know. That was the shocking part to me because it was my whole entire universe, you know, and then running into people and them not even knowing who I was.
Like me. I'm
exactly.
Oh, I think my mom talks about you. It's like, yeah.
And they knew about me from America's Got Talent, but they had no idea about the arrest.
Yeah.
And so all of these things, I mean, I know like even now I risk telling people things like even when I posted a video, I just released the video for My Ordinary Man and I talked about it and people are like, what happened? Like what happened? You know, I didn't even know about anything, you know, but the truth is that, you know, it exposed, and this is where I say, in the beginning, I said I had my mind in a place that I thought it was going to open all these doors for worldly success. And I had all these ideas for what success looked like. But what I didn't see coming was the success that God had in store for us. Because the fact that all those things had worked together to expose the issues that were going on, you know, we had to talk about it. Like there wasn't, we had buried it, and worked, taking care of our kids, taking care of doing things at church, doing ministry stuff, working at the hospital, doing all this work. We had buried this stuff, and during this moment, we had to talk about it because it was like, I guess the visual that I have is it's almost like an earthquake happens and it cracks the ground open, and now all of that stuff is just right there. You know, the ground was cracked open and now it's exposed, like all this garbage that has to be dealt with or else you can't move any further. And that's the success of God in this season, because we went on a 6-year process of dealing with that.
Mm.
You immediately stepped in and helped me get through those critical first days or first year, I guess, first year or two, where I was just like out of my mind still. And then we had another therapist who did the same thing with my wife. And we had to have those people that were there like in the crisis moments, and you were like that crisis stabilization type guy. And so you were helping us in that. And then after we kind of graduated that, we went into other forms of therapy, and like with Virginia Dixon and
EMDR.
Then what?
EMDR therapy.
Yeah, EMDR, yes, all those kind of things. And then over the past 2 years of my life, I got to a place to where I just realized like who I actually am. Like I felt the humbling of God in my life. Like I realized like I have been so prideful. I had no idea I was so prideful. That's the weird thing about pride, is you don't know you're prideful.
Because it can look different.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think the prideful is, I'm the man, I'm the best, I know everything.
Yeah.
It's me in a self-serving way, right?
Yeah.
But pride can look different.
Absolutely. And here I am, this guy that's adopted kids, and, working at a mental health nurse and all that. And I didn't think I was prideful, but I had so much pride. And my pride was that I could do this in my own strength. Look at all this that I'm doing, and I'm doing it in my own strength. Of course, I'm praying to God and I'm talking to God, but at the end of the day, am I really turning to the Lord? No. Sometimes I was turning to alcohol. And that was the biggest thing that caused me to want to say, I don't want to drink anymore. Was the day that I realized, and this has now been over a year, it's been over a year now, that I just realized I was like, I will turn to alcohol instead of God when I should be going to Him. And I just remember going, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. And then that's what caused me to really start the process of like not doing anything, but just becoming completely sober and clean and not using substances.
What do you feel like you discovered in that? Like, because like you said, right, it's been a journey of, let's say, 6+ years, right, of healing, different modalities, different therapies, different mentors, learning ups and downs in life. And, again, life's still happening and there's so much to navigate. And you said now this past, year and a half, you're like, I'm done. What do you feel like you learned? Because you said you're kind of learning who Michael Ketterer really is. Yeah. What did you learn in that now that you're like, finally, like, I'm done?
Let me explain. The wild thing about that, and I love that you said that, because I actually had this conversation earlier, because I have my clothes on and I'm dressed because I did an album, a photo shoot for my upcoming single that I have. And my buddy who's been with me for years, he goes, man, Michael, we should have always used this look for you because it's just so you. And I was like, you know why? It's because I know who I am now, and I know what I like, and I know what I want. And the thing is, what I realized was when you go and you get the inner work done, you just kind of like wake up and realize like, oh, I'm not struggling with that anymore. You know what I mean? Oh, that's not there anymore. Like that used to, like, if something like that would have happened, that would have debilitated me. I would have been like in the fetal position. But now I'm just like, okay, cool. Going on with life. And the process of getting the healing has caused me to begin to understand like who I really am, and that realization, what I have learned was that you're not that huge. I'm not as huge and special as I always thought I was. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not this big, incredible, special human being that's just, and that other people have said about me. And, because that is the thing. You'll start believing what people say about you. And I had to learn, like, no, I'm not. I need God. I am a broken man. And in my song, Ordinary Man, it's I'm just an ordinary man, scars on my heart and dirt on my hands. The scars on my heart were the things that were done to me, and the dirt on my hands is the stuff that I did, that was wrong. And it's like, I'm just ordinary. I'm like anybody else. But with the grace of God in my life and his in his presence and his spirit, I'm capable of all kinds of wild things. But he gets the glory, not me. You know what I mean? If I start realizing, like, if I start, that pride thing, creeps in sometimes, and it's like, look at what you've done, look at what you've accomplished. That's pride, And I've been to get to understand, like, yeah, look at what we've accomplished, God. You get the glory, because I know I couldn't do this on my own. Or there's parts of things that I can do on my own, and then that's when it gets dangerous, because I'm doing things on my own, and then I'm gonna burn myself out. So I've learned that when I start getting like that, I start dialing back, and I start looking for, like, quiet time. I need to start dialing in my quiet time, my morning routine, which I always wake up every day with gratitude. And I don't always feel grateful, but I make I'm in the place of discipline where I text out a gratitude list of things that I'm grateful for, because that shifts everything. And I know you know that, because gratitude and anxiety and all these things can't exist in the same space. So if you choose gratitude, then what you've actually chosen to do is drive out the fear and the anxiety and that kind of stuff. But there's all these things, and I'm like, okay, I've got things out of a line because I'm getting burnt out, and I'm doing things in my own power. I need to start prioritizing and putting God first in my life. And so that's the things that I've learned over these last 2 years. I mean, for those last 2 years, I did nothing else with music besides serve in a prayer room at the Garden Church in Huntington Beach. And that was on Wednesday mornings, early in the mornings. I would get there like 7 a.m., sometimes 6:30 a.m., and me and a small group of people would pray, would intercede for our city and for people and prayer, and I would lead, like, worship during that time. So it was like prayer and singing and music at the same time in combination together. And I did nothing musically but that for almost 2 years. And that's where I feel like I've learned the most. I've learned what it looks like to go low and be humble, and that the floor is the door to healing. The floor is the door to healing. Like, it's getting low and it's saying, I can't do this on my own. God, I need you. Here I am. This is me. This is as high as I can get off this ground right now, because right as me on that floor is me saying, I'm fully surrendered, right? And that's the doorway, the beginning and the first steps to actual healing. And I did that for 2 years. And then one day God said, okay, Michael, get up off the floor. I have some stuff I want you to do. But it was 2 years on the floor and on my face and just crying out to God, crying, not using any substances, not turning to other things other than my time with him.
And what was he telling you? What do you feel like the message he wanted you to learn in that 2 years? Like, what did he really want you to learn about yourself, in the direction that he wants you to move? So, because again, right, I always say a man without purpose has no meaning.
Yeah.
When we have no meaning, what are we really doing, right? And that's where depression, anxiety, and fear, and drinking, and all this happens.
Sure.
And I've seen it where you can if you worked in a convalescent home, there is people who die depressed, who die angry, who die and no one's around. So healing isn't guaranteed. It's like healing is a choice.
Yep.
So for you, what do you feel like in that 2 years as you're being humbled and you're on the ground? Like, what do you feel like God was trying to tell you about you and what to do?
It was so clear. He was letting me know that I'm his, that my family is his, and that he has and always will take care of me. And that I don't have to strive for anything, but I just need to know and rest and relax, like, into that space of knowing that he's got me. And that for me was the hardest thing for me to do. It was so much fear around failure because I didn't really have a present dad. I didn't have a present father for much of my life. And so I felt like I not only had to take care of myself, but I had to take care of my mom and my brothers and my sisters. And so that's just always been such a core value. And I think the fear, seeing my mom in fear and anxiety of like losing our home or financial insecurities and all that stuff, put that weight on me. And so I just had carried this burden, and I was willing to do anything to maintain that. You know what I mean? Like, I've got to do this. Oh my gosh, I've got to come with a solution. Oh man. And it would send me into these spirals when any little thing would get out of line. And I just know that in those 2 years, he said, just let me do it. Lay them on the altar. That's literally the words he used. That was the thing that wrecked me. I remember the day, I remember the night when he said, Michael, lay your family on the altar. Lay them on the altar. I will take care of them. And I remember doing that as of almost like just kind of like this prophetic thing of like, faith thing of, okay, God, I'm putting them on the altar. And when I just kind of did in my mind, and I just kind of like went and I laid them out on that space, just something broke in me and I couldn't stop crying, dude. I wept for hours. I mean, just wailing to the point where my friends will even talk about this today to this day because they were close by. Yeah, and I owe so much to those prayer rooms where the only thing that we were doing was exalting Jesus and the cross and God, and that was it. It had nothing to do with me. Probably the most humbling place you can go to is a prayer room because there's only like 10, 15 people in there, and so any mistake you make, anything, it's there, dude.
Yeah.
But nobody cares because it's not about you. And that's what I had to learn. I had to learn it's not about me. And so that's why this song, Ordinary Man, is like a full circle for me. It's like me writing the lyrics to this song when I didn't have the revelation or the character to uphold it. And now I'm in a space where I can truly sing the song with the work being done.
What would you say is like the message you want people to get from that song? Like, someone's going to listen to it. Like, what is the message you want to convey for that person to get out of it?
Yeah, it's when you listen to the song, you will hear it's about sonship. It's about knowing who you are, and that becomes your identity, is who we are in God and through Christ. And that's where our identity is. And so I would hope that when people listen to this song, that they would be able to find out who they truly are in the midst. And like I said, where I could be like, okay, God, I'm yours. That's another way of saying that is, I'm your son. You got me. You know, that my identity is that I'm your son, and the most powerful force in the entire universe loves me. If you stop and think about that, that's crazy, right? And the most powerful force in the entire universe wants to call me son. That's ridiculous, especially when you have the wounds that I carry, you know? And it's like that revelation, I hope, comes through the song that, yeah, I got a real good view of who I am. And I'm not this high, super gift to the earth. And I'm also not this low thing, because none of that even matters. Doesn't even matter. I could care less, because only thing I care about is that I'm known as your son. And that's enough. And I think that's what I hope people walk away, because, I'm just an ordinary man, scars on my heart, dirt on my hands. I'm not an extraordinary man, but here in your grace, that's where I stand. We can stand, we can do crazy, wild things when we know who we are.
Yeah, there's a saying, it says the beginning of all wisdom is when you know yourself. And it's true, right? Because then you know what you want. You know where you want to go. You know what to stand up for. You know just how to navigate your life, right? God made us all unique. So live unique.
Yeah. And I love that you said that. The beginning of all wisdom is to know yourself, because the actual quote from the Bible is the beginning of all wisdom is the fear of the Lord. So that is the beginning of all wisdom, is to the fear of the Lord. And in that place of knowing and fearing and reverencing the Lord is how we find out who we are. That's how we find out who we are. So you're absolutely right in saying that. The beginning of all wisdom is to know ourselves and who we are. And the only way to truly know ourselves is by knowing and understanding God. Yeah. And seeking him out.
Yeah. And another thing I want to point out too, that's different about you, because I've known you for about 6 years, is that I feel like in this season of your life, you're the most transparent and radically vulnerable and more with like the public in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, you've always had like where you'll be transparent with the person, maybe even still kind of afraid to be transparent with the person. But you didn't want to fully be transparent because of X, Y, and Z, which again, right?
Sure.
Everyone has different lives depending on if it's a work reason,
Sure.
you're in the spotlight reason, you have kids, whatever it is, right? There's different reasons. But now I feel like you're in a place because you're talking about it on here where I'm like, dude, this is the most vulnerable I've seen you.
Yeah.
What was it for you that it didn't matter that it doesn't matter that now that you do have kids, it doesn't matter that you do work at a hospital, it doesn't matter now that you are putting yourself out there again. Like, what is it now where you're like, I don't mind sharing this stuff now?
I love that you said that because I realize I know what happened. There was this wave that hit me one day, and where I realized that I've just been keeping my mouth shut. And for whatever reason, whether it was fear, whether it was a spiritual enemy, whatever reason, I had been keeping my mouth shut. I'd always known like it wasn't time. Like through a lot of my life, it wasn't time to open up and be public about it because I told you this earlier. It's like I felt like I needed to have the work done in me up to a certain point to feel like I had something to say. I didn't want to bring up something that I didn't have like a response to. Like if I was to be questioned, I didn't have an answer to because I hadn't actually taken the time for the work to be done. And I'm not trying to say like the work is done in me every day. And I know you know this. Every day God is doing more and more and inside of me. But I do know that wave hit me that one day and it just like, I can't even remember what caused it, but it hit me and he's like, you've got to figure out a way to begin to share with people your story because we overcome darkness by the cross, by Jesus, and the word of our testimony. We overcome darkness by the word of our testimony, meaning our story. That's how we overcome darkness in the world. And you know this because you've talked to me all the time. It's like when we expose what's in darkness, then not only does it bring healing to that, but it also you can bring healing to others. Yeah.
And like you said earlier, right before this podcast, is like when you begin to really heal and you really begin to talk about things openly and you give it no power.
Yes.
It's like recovery is more than just recovery in a sense of whether it's drugs, alcohol, you get your job back, whatever. It's like you change.
It's a total change, man.
Eternally change.
Yeah, I remember I was talking about that. I was like, even recovery doesn't feel like the right word because it's like a full transformation takes place.
Yeah.
I wish I wish to God that I'd spent the majority of my life in this reality that I get to live in today. But I didn't. It took the process of pain, suffering, loss, humility. That's the process, the disappointment, rumors. It took that process to get me to this, to be transformed into the man that I am today. That knows that I have to always go low, that my life is to serve others, that the experiences that I have are meant to help other people get through their situations and are also meant to help promote and bring others into their callings and what their dreams are as well. And ultimately just to be used by God, whatever he says. That's one of the things that I say is like, I've always said this. I didn't realize what I was saying, but I've always said this. Like right when me and my wife got married, it was even in our wedding, we said, God, our lives are like blank checks. Spend us any way you want to. I didn't realize how excited he got that day.
Yes, really? Because all right, you gave me permission.
he got so excited. He's like, okay. 6 kids, America's Got Talent, all these wild things that have taken place. But absolutely, yeah, man. It's been really good talking to you today because it's fun to talk to you because you know so much of my story already. And you, like you said, you knew me when I was so afraid to say anything or even like go out in public.
I remember we went to a ramen place in downtown Fullerton, our first time really meeting after Spectrum. Yeah. And that's where I saw you're looking around, I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, I remember, right? Because I'm like, wait, is that like celebrities act? Oh, probably. I mean, I guess so. I guess people do watch him, huh? It's not math, right? It's not math. I don't do
No.
math, right?
Definitely not
Yeah.
math.
So like, you really were like that paranoid. You're like, I don't know, the person has a
Yeah.
phone or like, and I was like, oh, this is like a real thing.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
man,
paranoid,
yeah.
bro. Paranoid, but
Yeah.
yeah. And so yeah, there was this time around, and I think what helped me make it easier for me to talk about things is like I'm back at Influence Church, and I'm back with those same people, Phil and Tammy Hotzenpiller, and my community that was there. I'm back with them, and they're supporting me, and they're loving me, and they're telling me, "Hey, go for it. We're here. We've got you. We've got and I just feel that support too.
Yeah, you do, man. And I think you have so much more to your story still to come. They always say people say like a year of being transformed can feel longer than 40 years of not being transformed. I feel like time slows down, and it's a beautiful thing that God gives us that opportunity.
That makes sense.
And you do have a gift, as well as you are a person that people want to be around. You are a person that, like, if you think they're cool, they're like amazed. You have that big brother, that like mentor, that like when you speak, we listen, and that's a gift. And so now that you're more open and you're putting yourself out there again, it's like, yeah, you're gonna help out a lot of people again. You are, with your story and your music and your heart.
Well, that's my desire, man. Thank you. Yeah. Isn't it crazy? Think about, like, you probably never thought I'd be here today.
Because I've seen Michael's gone again. Well, Michael's back again.
Yeah. You've seen it. Yeah, you probably never thought I'd be here.
It's funny what I connected to. I learned it from Chief. Chief always goes, "Fausto, the two hardest positions to navigate in a church is the kids' room and the musician."
Yeah.
I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Because they're both like children."
Yeah.
And so it's funny. Anytime I have musician friends, you do see that, like, oh, I see what you mean. It's like, it's kind of like, like the sad truth, or not even, it doesn't have to be true, but the thing you hear, like the broken artist. Like, what do you mean? Like, artists, there is some brokenness. That's where they bring this beauty of the music. But there's like that dark side to it, whatever it is. Or if the end of the world happened, different. You actually got a trait, because you're like a nurse, so you're a little bit different. But most artists, it's like, if the zombie apocalypse happened, you're no good. What are you gonna sing to the zombies?
Nope, that's exactly right.
You're gonna sing to the zombies. It's like, and so you see that, like, right, like you have this gift, but sometimes there's all these things that you struggle with. Whether it's like, oh, they're really anxious, oh, they're actually really depressed, they're socially inept, maybe, or they're nervous, they bipolar. There's always something you're like, oh. So there's that side to you that's where you pull all that magic from. So learning how to find that balance within the artist to, like, and still validate those parts of you. I see you, and I'm here for you, and then trying to learn how to not let it affect you.
Dude, you just summed up my life, bro.
Yeah.
No, for real though, it's very true. It's very, very true, and that's where I think, like, working with in the hospital and that kind of stuff has helped develop the other aspect of the other part of me, like, and I'm thankful that I can operate in both realms. I don't think it would have been natural for me. I definitely didn't want to, like, be a nurse. That happened because of in 2007 I was working purely as a muralist.
Yeah.
And 2006, 2007 the housing market crashed and nobody wanted a muralist.
Yeah,
it wasn't quite the zombie apocalypse, but at the same time, who cares? We don't want to spend our money on a mural. We need to buy food, right?
Yeah.
And so that reality, that's actually when I became a nurse, and it forced me to figure out something else. And I think that's what started really developing, and helped to balance me out as an artist. Or otherwise, I would have been that flaky artist guy to the core.
Where's Michael? He's probably on a journey creating his next song. He just disappears
in a desert.
He's hanging out with the tigers and the lions, and I don't know, eating cactus, and who knows.
Probably true, man. Probably true. Yeah. But you know as well as I do, like, when you stick out in this life, you see long enough, and you work with people that are in brokenness and hurting long enough, you see a lot of people pass, and you see people fall to the wayside and all that. But you also get to see some really amazing things too. You get to see some people catch it and truly get transformed.
Yeah.
True healing take place. And just while I'm here, I just have to give a shout out because I got to see my sister over the last few years get completely set free. Actually, through a ministry called Set Free Ministries, I believe. I think that's what it's called, where she got completely free of drugs and alcohol and all that kind of stuff. And she's doing so good. I think she's like on year like 4 or 5 now, being sober.
Wow,
completely sober.
That's amazing. That's not Sarah. Sarah's your sister-in-law, right? Or is that?
Yeah, Sarah's my sister-in-law,
Okay.
Leah.
Okay, it's Leah.
Leah's my sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, that's cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. So.
Well, sweet, man. Well, before we close out, so is your single out already, or is it coming out?
Okay, my single "Ordinary Man" is already out.
Okay,
you can get it on every platform that sells music. "Ordinary Man." The video is on YouTube under Michael Ketterer Music. You can go to my YouTube page, and this is all like the technology aspect of all this stuff is new to me. But I'm figuring it all out. But the video is so fire too, dude. So if you get an opportunity to listen to the song and go watch the video, it's great. And then I actually have another single dropping on Good Friday.
What day is Good Friday?
It's Friday.
What Friday? That's more better.
The 3rd, I believe.
Okay. April 3rd. I'm like, which Friday?
No, I think it's the 3rd.
Yeah,
the 3rd. That's Good Friday. And so so you can actually get that song, it's called Stomp. And I'm
perfect.
fired up about that song.
Yeah, when this episode comes out, the song will be out, so we'll definitely put the link in as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, yeah. Well, hey, Michael, I just want to say thank you again for coming out and being here with us. And again, just sharing. As you know, people will know there is another episode that we have too that we're going to release to after this one down the road. And you talk about, what it's like to adopt kids and navigating that, right? Because it's very powerful in that. So you guys will see that one as well. And what would you want to say to somebody if you had 1 minute with somebody that is in a situation today where they have that, like, I was up here and boom, my life just fell apart because of X, Y, and Z and the media and everybody thinks I did this. What kind of advice would you want to give them to start navigating that journey?
That's really wild. That's a good, really great question, because I think at first there's going to be a moment of mourning because it is a loss, right? And the idea of that loss. So I think there is a season and like a moment where you need to mourn that and in a healthy way, move through it. Because again, if you just shove it down and push through, you're probably going to end up with more trauma later on. So I think there is a healthy way of moving through the disappointment and mourning that loss. But what I would want to say to you is to turn to the people, because I know for me, I just didn't have the strength in myself. I didn't know what to do. So to find people in your life that you can go to turn to others and to work on being as vulnerable as possible with others, so that way they can truly help you, because that's honestly what happened with me. And not being afraid, especially if you don't have that relationship with God, of being more open to that, because again, my connection and relationship with God is what carried me through it as well. No, otherwise, you're going to want to turn to other stuff, and that's no bueno.
Right, like you said, you're just gonna put your healing on pause.
Yep,
and more stuff's gonna pile up.
Yes.
And that's why there's that saying that people say that I don't agree with. God will never give you something that you can't handle. I go, actually, He will. That's why He wants you to lean on people.
Yeah.
He actually does. That's why you need people.
It is, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. He gives us more than we can handle all the time. I don't know. I know. I heard people say that before in my life. I was like, that's just to set you up that's just going to piss you off. Right?
Yeah. We're going to word it a little bit differently. No, He will. That's why I lean on people.
Yeah, exactly. You need people in your life to help you get through things. 100%.
Yeah, there's and like you said, right, it's so important finding people who understand it, like you had Brian had, because I remember there's this episode of Daredevil, which is a Marvel show. He's the blind, superhero. And there's a scene, he's a lawyer. There's a scene and there's a kid in a wheelchair, and he's the lawyer for the kid in the wheelchair because, an accident happened and put this kid in a wheelchair. And they win the case. So the kid gets, I think, like $10 million. And the mom's like, yay. And the blind lawyer talks to the kid in the wheelchair. He goes, so I'm going to let you know that money's not going to change nothing for you. You're not going to get your legs back. People are going to always try to feel like they need to fix you. People are always going to try to feel like they're going to baby you, like something's wrong with you. They're always going to treat like something's wrong with you. Life's going to be really hard. He's like, so you got to take back your power.
Whoa.
You know, and because it took
Yeah.
someone that's blind, he knows, like, hey,
He knows.
like I had my vision as a kid, and I lost it,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm telling you from experience. You know what I mean? Like, this is what it's gonna be like, and this is what you got to do. And so there's power when you have somebody that understands your circumstances, because there's wisdom in that, not just knowledge. There's wisdom.
There's wisdom. It's different than knowledge,
Yeah.
and they also carry an authority that now you can reap the benefits of if you're willing to be humble enough to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've not always been, like I said, I've always been humble enough to listen, but when you are, then you get to reap the benefit of that.
Yeah. Like, I'd always recommend you to somebody who's in the spotlight. I go, hey, I can't relate, but I know a guy who can relate.
Yeah.
This guy will know how to talk to you in that pain.
And then of course, you know, I get texts almost weekly of like my friend, like I've got one buddy who literally just did this to me last week. He's like, I've got a friend who's like, his teenage son is like driving him crazy. He's out doing drugs and blah, 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 and all this. He's police and everything. He goes, can you talk to him? Because I know you know what he's going through. I'm like, yes, I 100% know. You know, it's like, and that's the thing, is like, we all have those areas.
Yeah.
Right, we all have those areas, and I know we need to end this, but it's so funny. I said this earlier. It's like anytime I start seeing people start doing well in life, I'll go be like, hey, like you're looking good. Like, what's going on? You look totally different. How you doing? It's like, oh yeah, I'm doing great. I'm like, well, what have you changed? He goes, oh, I'm hanging out with Fausto. And I'm not even lying, dude. I'm not lying. That's exactly the truth. It's always the way it goes. Oh yeah, Fausto. He's giving me some peptides. Oh, Fausto, this, that.
I love that, buddy. Well, hey, thank you so much for being here and being who you are. I always have so much fun with you, and
Same.
just thank you for being a blessing in my life and everybody's life that's listening.